and our assignment was to write a report about our favorite place in Texas. So here's mine. The High Plains region. My favorite place in Texas is in the eastern part. It is the Pine Woods region. One of the reasons I like this area is because of all the tall, beautiful pine trees. They make me feel so comfy and cozy, and they remind me of winter. I love the sound of the wind rustling through the branches and leaves. The fresh piney smell reminds me of Christmas time. The reason there are so many pine trees is because of the large amount of rainfall. The Pine Woods region receives between 48 to 52 inches of rain a year, and pine trees need a lot of water. Because of all the rain, there are whole pine tree forests. In fact, the Pine Woods region is part of the Great Southern Pine Belt of the United States. It is the leading area in Texas for manufacturing products from the forest. Hardwood trees also grow in this area, but the pine trees are more important in this part of Texas. The two major cities in this area are Longview and Texarkana. Another reason I like the Pine Woods region is because my parents live there and have lived there ever since I was born. It brings back a lot of happy, joyful memories. The name of our poem is Sound, the Land of the Singing Rivers by Gladys Just. Big, wide, wonderful Texas, where the blue bluebonnets grow, the land of the singing rivers, next door to Mexico. The big red river allows Indian tales and lore, and keeps us ever mindful to open wide our door. The peaceful Pedernales, where white-faced Herefords graze, the Trinity and Comal hum through the rapid sprays. The Colorado and Llano join to form the Johnson's Lakes. The gurgling Guadalupe bounds through the cedar breaks. The wild outlaw Pecos rumbles through the mountain gorge and takes us back in history to Judge Bean and his tours, where General Houston conquered at the port of the Sabine, the melodious Medina, so calm and so serene. The big green thicket shelters Indian calls and echoes as they leap the cliffs and gullies of the battle-scarred Brazos. The Edwards Plateau streamlets offer fresh and cooling charms. The Nacogdoches and Nueces nestled close to fertile farms. The mighty Rio Grande joins neighbors on its flow to its determined journey to the Gulf of Mexico. The San Antonio River reminds us as we go that freedom's flame is precious. Remember the Alamo. Big, wide, wonderful Texas, where blue bonnets grow, the land of the singing rivers, next door to Mexico.
All right, the second week of our class, we studied the Texas Indians, and Brian Gwynn has written a report about which Indian Apaches. And then the next week, the assignment was to write, or to imagine as though you were a missionary to those Indians, and then write a fictitious missionary story. And Katie's going to give an example of hers. No, it's not a story, I'm sorry. It's a letter to the folks back home. So Brian will be first, then Katie.
The Latana Apaches. An important group of early Texans were the Latana Apaches. These Apaches battled not only Anglo-Americans and Mexicans, but some of their Indian neighbors as well. The Lipan Apaches started as a farming tribe, but were forced by the Comanches during the early 1700s to move from the southern plains to the drier Texas, western Texas, and northern Mexico areas. They became so fierce for their survival that some of their leaders have become very well known in American history. Two of these well-known chiefs are Geronimo and Cochise. These men were great warriors in the eyes of the Lipan Apaches. The Apache chief Geronimo was possibly the most feared man in the 19th century Texas history. He was finally defeated by the combined efforts of the Texas Rangers and the United States soldiers. Before the Lipan Apaches became so warlike in their defense of their hunting grounds, each band had a peace chief who would organize hunting parties or direct religious ceremonies. As they felt the threat of the Comanches from the north and the Mexicans from the south and Anglo-Americans from the east, fierce warrior chiefs began to appear. The clothes of the Lipan Apaches were made from the animal skins and were formerly made from deer or buffalo. The women usually wore a shirt, a kneeling skirt, and high-top moccasins. The men wore breechcloth, leggings, and moccasins, adding a shirt in the winter. The children wore clothes, shirts of buckskin, and began to dress like adults when they were nearly grown. The Lipan Apaches would cut the hair off the left side of their head, but let the right side go along. The men and women of the Lipan Apaches wore earrings made of copper, and sometimes they would wear beaded earrings. The Lipan Apaches used a different technique to hunt. They used the surround technique. They would surround their enemy of the game they intended to trap or kill, and then either kill it or trap it by moving in on all sides of it. In the early times, the Lipan Apaches hunted on foot, but then later they obtained horses. The Lipan Apaches were skillful bow shooters. They continued to use their bows and arrows even after they obtained rifles. The Lipan Apaches felt that arrows shot more rapidly at animals or enemies than the early single-shot muzzle-loading rifles. The Lipan Apaches could shoot 12 arrows or more in the time it took to load one rifle. Also, the bow and arrow were more accurate from a galloping horse. The Lipan Apaches' dwellings were made similar to those of the Plains Indians. They were a framework of poles forming a teepee. The frames had a heavy bottom and then a lighter top. The top of the teepee had a hole to let the smoke come out of it. They were covered with animal skins, and then anywhere from 4 to 20 people could be sheltered in one. The Lipan Apaches were eventually destroyed by the Comanches and the Spanish. The Lipans also died because of the disease that they got. They eventually were forced to go up into West Texas and New Mexico.
Dear friends and family, it has now been a little more than a year since I left you and my home in Spain. It took me 11 months to reach the coast of Texas and another few weeks to reach the tribe with whom I am trying to lead to our Savior, Jesus Christ. I have been with this Indian tribe 2 months already and have learned very little to tell you about their language, much to my disappointment. But I do have much to tell you about their ways and their culture. These Indians are known as the Karen Kawats. They lead a nomadic life, wandering from place to place along the Gulf of Mexico. Already since I came here, we have moved 9 times. The scenery is the same wherever we go. Dry grass prairie, sandy beaches, and water. Always water. It appears that the Karen Kawats cannot live without some source of water a few yards away from the camp. Although I have a feeling the water is more for their canoes than for the people themselves. The only bad thing about all this water is that it attracts mosquitoes by the thousands. But these Indians have their own secret solution for that, though it doesn't smell so secret. They cover their bodies with a dark, sticky substance that is known to them as alligator grease. It smells horrible, so the mosquitoes don't ever bother the Karen Kawats for a very good reason. I have not tried this solution yet, but an Indian woman offered me a clay bowl full of this alligator grease the other day. I shook my head and smiled, all the time backing up and holding my breath. The Indian men look dreadful. They are tall and muscular, and they also tattoo and paint themselves, although I can't see it out under all that alligator grease. The men are always carrying a weapon of some sort, making them look worse. But they hardly ever fight, though they will eat the flesh and organs of their captive enemies. The Karen Kawats think that if they eat their enemies, they will become brave and fearless. Well, while the men are eating humans, the women and I are eating fruits, nuts, plants, and even game that the men will go get if they are in a good mood. I have also gone on many fishing trips with the men. We put the sea creatures in vessels. My missionary work is going well, considering what you call going well. Since I don't know much about their language, I draw pictures with sticks in the sand to tell the tribe about Jesus Christ. The Indian women are interested in all of my stories, but I have a few of them incoming. What else will please? Although all they ever do is grunt, it makes me feel safer that at least some of these cannibals like me. The children are the ones that are really interested in the stories, or at least I thought so until today. You see, whenever I started to draw pictures, they would all crowd around and watch intently. I thought they were actually learning and understanding what I was doing. But this morning, I found a group of the children with their sticks, drawing the same things I had drawn yesterday and laughing at them. I don't know what to think, but I am trying to trust in Jesus and have courage. I miss you all dearly, Edie Tower.
This is a story that Amy wrote. It's the story of Jane Long and her servant girl, Cayenne. Jane Long and her family helped establish colonies on the eastern coast of Texas. And Amy's going to be doing a dramatic monologue where she will play the narrator, Jane Long and some other characters, and Deanna will be playing the servant girl. And this is her story.
Our story begins in the early 19th century. Jane Long was born in the year 1800. Being an orphan at a young age, she married Dr. James Long when she was 16. In 1819, Dr. Long left to help the Texans gain their independence. Jane, I shall miss you, but I'll send for you as soon as I've made ready a stable environment. Oh, just please do hurry. I'll be ready to leave as soon as I hear from you. As soon as Jane heard from her husband, she left with Cayenne, her servant, and Anne, her first child, to join him in Nacogdoches, where he had recently declared Texas a republic. As soon as they arrived at their destination, however, the entire colony had to flee from the attacking Mexican army. As they retreated, Jane urged them not to give up. Make haste, run for your lives, we shall never surrender. Soon after, Jane and her husband were working on the Texan coast, trying to establish a new colony. While there, their second child died. In 1821, Mexico gained its independence from Spain. Therefore, Dr. Long traveled to ask permission to bring colonists to the coast. Okay. Jane Long said goodbye to her husband with the tears glistening in her eyes. I may not be a strong woman, but I've got a strong Lord to watch over me. And I shan't ever give up in the fight for this blessed land which I stand on. Months and months passed. Dr. Long did not return. The soldiers began to desert. I don't care what Miss Long says about her husband returning. I ain't going to stand for this no longer. Me neither. I'm for leaving. Dr. Long ain't ever returning, and I don't intend to stick around for a man that isn't coming back. All of the soldiers left, taking all the food with them. A messenger arrived with a letter from Dr. Long sometime later. You, Miss Long's got a letter for you from Doctor. Yes, please. Dearest Jane, I was put on trial by the Mexican government due to open rebellion to the previous government, and therefore have not been able to write you in some time. I have, however, been able to clear my name and shall be returning to you shortly. Keep me in your prayers, James. The messenger urged her to come with them, but she persisted that she would stay at the fort until James arrived. He never did. It was later found out that James had been treacherously murdered in Mexico City for some unknown reason. I will now turn the rest of the story over to Cayenne, Jane's servant, who was with her for over 65 years.
My name is Cayenne. I was Mrs. Long's servant for over 65 years. I was about 10 years younger than Mrs., and I remember how much I looked up to her during that time down by the Texas coast. Dr. Long had left only a short time before she had her third child. Soldiers all began deserting, taking all the food. We even had to start making fishing nets out of the men's hammocks. Oh, and it was so bitterly cold. During one of the storms, the snow grew right under the fort roof and covered everything, even the newborn baby. There was simply no way of getting out of the wind, rain, and snow. It was a long, terrible night. Several times during winter, we had a fire and a cannon to keep the Indians away. Little did they know that the only people in that fort were a 20-year-old woman, a 13-year-old servant, a 4-year-old girl, and a newborn baby. Oh, and poor Jane. We soon found out we would never see the doctor again. We finally decided to leave. We closed the huge wooden gates for the last time and boarded a ship with people from a different colony. far as Louisiana. From there, we all moved to Richmond, where we operated a boarding house together for over 60 years.
Cayenne lived until 1876, and Jane lived to the age of 80. She is buried in Texas where she fulfilled her dream of a free and completely united Texas. She is truly one of the greatest Texans that has ever lived, not only because she had a dream, but because she lived to make it a reality.
Texas Rose, written by Rita Kerr, is a biography. This story tells the life of a young girl, DeLue Rose. The Rose family came to Texas in 1833, when DeLue was only 8 years old. Dr. Rose, DeLue's father, was very loyal to his family. He was faithful to take care of them and provide for them. Miss Margaret Rose, DeLue's mother, was a hard-working woman who faced difficult times, including the death of her 2-year-old daughter. Granville, DeLue's older brother, was dependable and diligent in his work. In the family, there were 3 other younger sisters and an uncle. DeLue was the main character of the story. She was loving towards her family and grateful for the things they had. She showed wisdom when she and her sister Ella got lost. She calmed her sister down and told her it would be all right. This book tells the story of a family living in Texas in 1830. This book tells the story of their family and their lives in Texas. They had to deal with wolves, Indians, and buffaloes. They had to flee their home when the Mexican army began moving north towards them. After leaving their home for 5 weeks, along with many others, they were able to return and continue their lives. Through this story, we are able to see what life was like for the people of that day. Life was hard, and everyone in the family had to work together to survive. We can see how God has blessed us. I recommend this book to anyone that wanted to see what life was like for a family living in Texas in 1830.
Part of this presentation is the Heroes of the Alamo. And before they come up, I just want to tell for all of you who do not know, last week we went to Brackettville on a field trip, and Brackettville is the most accurate replica of the Alamo. We had a great time, and it just really gave us a feeling for what it would be like to be in the real Alamo. So y'all sit back and try and get that feeling as the little heroes of the Alamo come up and give their speeches.
No, you weren't looking at Prince Salter. You're looking at Juan Seguin. I'm a Mex-Tex. I gathered a company of Tejano volunteers and joined the Texians for the fight for freedom for Mexico. We just captured San Antonio, but Santa Anna heard about it. Now our small army of only 187 men are taking refuge, and several women and children are taking refuge in the Alamo in Old Michigan. Santa Anna is now surrounding the makeshift fort. We don't have enough men or ammunition to hold out much longer. Someone needed to go get help. I volunteered. I'm about to leave with my best friend Antonio. I hope I make it back on time.
I grew up in the hills of eastern Tennessee. Though I loved Mom and Pa, I spent as much time in the woods as I could. That's right, I'm Dave Crockett. Folks call me a skillful hunter and hard worker, and one of the funniest storytellers they ever heard. As I grew up, people appreciated my commitment to honesty and dependability, so they asked me to run for public office. God allowed me to serve in both the Tennessee State Legislature and the U.S. Congress. I always felt I was there to protect the rights of the Indians and the poor homesteaders. But you know, I never did like being hemmed in, so me and my family are on our way to Texas. We want to find some land to farm. I also heard that St. Anna's considered marching to Texas. I just may need to go down to the Alamo and protect the freedoms we all so enjoy.
recommending. While in Texas, I became involved in numerous ventures, including silver mining near San Saba. My brothers and I were great hunters and designed the famed Bowie knife, which was very popular on the frontier. My greatest regret was while I lay sick in bed with typhoid pneumonia, my friends fought the Santa Anna's army coming over the walls of the Alamo.
Maybe some of you have seen me before. My name is Colonel William Barrett Travis, and born in South Carolina in 1809. And you've arrived just in time because we've gathered some men out in front for an important message. My plea for help has fallen on deaf ears. Our choices are clear. We can surrender and betray the dream of independence. We can try to escape and suffer the shame of one who runs from his enemy. Or we can remain and fight a destiny that is certain doom, and we shall die for the cause of liberty and freedom. And although we may be sacrificed, the victory will cost the enemy so dearly it would be worse for him than defeat. As for myself, I will stay within these walls and fight as long as there is breath in my body. And this I will do even if you leave me alone. But if I am destined to die, let my scabbard be empty, and my sword red with the blood of men who deny freedom. You who will stay and die with me, cross this line.
My name is Susanna Dickinson. My little daughter and I were so angry when we came to town. Not one of the 183 men were standing. I even became a widow. Remembering their courage gave me strength today because I met General Santa Anna. He offered me an easy, aristocratic way of life in Mexico, but I boldly turned him down. I elected instead to deliver the news to General Sam Houston that the Alamo had fallen. Enough about me, and let's be on my way. I pray that I can effectively retell the story of the Alamo. I don't want anyone to forget our heroes' brave and noble fight till their death. I know one thing I shall never forget.
So Tracy put me in charge of assigning desserts that you'll be eating tonight. And Hannah Day has made Pringlers, a Danish sweet dessert. The Danes settled in Texas in 1838. We know that one Danish man died in the Alamo. Bread pudding, an Indian dessert, was made by Brian Gwynn. Texas was home to more Indians than any other state. 2 different tribes still remain and live on reservation in Texas. Maggie Gwynn baked a pecan pie, a common Anglo-American dessert. In 1821, Texas officially opened to immigration. 4,000 people settled in Texas at that time. When the Irish immigrants arrived in Texas, some of the men found a purple fruit growing and thought them edible. They called them Texas figs. Later, they all had stomach aches. They found out that the real name for this fruit was prickly pear. Elizabeth Sadoff has made tea time lassies a favorite Irish edible dessert. Irish were among the defenders of the Alamo. And Catherine Sadoff made butter cookies, a great Greek dessert. The Greek immigrated to Texas in 1880. There are 11 Greek Orthodox churches in one, including in San Antonio. Amy and Brent Salter made molasses cookies similar to the ginger snaps but softer. Amy also made good bee cake with caramel candy icing. These are also Anglo-American desserts. Many Americans born defenders died in the Alamo. Dutch spice cake is a Dutch dessert which Christian Spelling has made. One by one, the Dutch arrived and settled in Texas in 1882. One Dutchman died in Alabama. Texans of German descent now comprise the state's fourth largest ethnic group. The Germans settled as early as 1860s in New Braunfels, Galveston, Houston, and San Antonio. Deanna Whetstone has made lightning cake a German dessert. Germans were represented as defenders of the Alamo. Jordan Tower has made honey cake. The first Belgians to come to Texas is in 1685. They were pleased to accompany La Salle, a French explorer, in 1858. More Belgians settled in Texas. Katie Tower has made king haken cake, a Norwegian recipe. The Norwegians settled in 1854 in western Blackview County, which is a beautiful part of Texas and looks so much like their homeland. France has played an important role in Texas history. La Salle, a French explorer, landed in Texas in 1685. By 1840, a 2,000 French family settled in Texas. History has made ambrosia a French dessert. Amy Wheeler brought her grandmother's recipe for Scottish shortbread. The first Scots arrived in Texas in 1805. There is a community of Scots today in Salado, Texas, where they hold Highland Games each year. There were known Scottish defenders of the Alamo. Between 1850 and 1920, thousands of Czechs left their homeland and came to Texas for a better life. Most farmers settled in San Antonio. Josh Wheeler has made cream apple strudel, a Czech dessert.
Okay, the children just went together and got some gifts for appreciation for Noelle and LaDonna, and we're just so grateful for all of your help and appreciate your willingness to serve. And Tracy, thank you so much for all the love and time that you put into our children. We appreciate you so much. And we hope that you enjoy this little gift. Appreciate you for your students.